Welcome to this week's edition of Business Watch. Today, our guest is Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company, who has appeared on our show before. He's back to discuss with us in more detail the process of leasing and or purchasing commercial real estate and comparing these two options. The Saywitz Company is a national commercial real estate brokerage firm which represents tenants and users of commercial real estate in leasing and purchasing commercial real estate. Barry, thanks again for being on our show. We're glad to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So the last time you were here, we discussed the process of corporate relocation and some of the nuances that sort of come along with that process. Now, today's topic, we're going to be talking about leasing versus buying. And the question is, which one should I do? Which is better for my business? What advice do you usually give your clients?
Yeah, and it really depends. Some people really prefer to lease. Buying's just really not an option for them. Other people have the funds available to purchase a building and are really dead set on it. And then others want to compare all of their options and look at leasing versus owning. So it's really a function of preference. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, money.
Money is always the bottom line. Are there certain types of companies that actually prefer to lease and maybe certain industry types that prefer to actually own their own real estate? In the end, it's a better fit? Yeah,
and so a company who is experiencing a lot of growth, buying may not be such a good idea for them because they might outgrow the facility. A company who's fairly stagnant in what their size requirements would be, that would be a better fit. And then other companies like manufacturing companies or medical companies that have heavy capital contributions to the building, a lot of infrastructure that goes into it, it might be a better idea for them to buy the building so they're not picking up and moving all the time.
Are there other determining factors in leasing versus ownership?
Well, in a lease scenario, there really isn't a lot of upfront money. There's no down payment like you'd have in purchasing a building. And then when it comes to improving the building or making modifications in a purchase, when you buy the building, you are the owner, you have to fix it up yourself and pay for it. In a lease, a lot of times we can get the landlord to pay for a majority, if not all of the costs that go into fixing it up. So the first item would certainly be the down payment and the upfront monies that go into it, and then the flexibility of growth and expansion over a period of time.
And what point in this process do you bring in maybe other consultants, outside help, to help the corporation make that decision?
Well, in the case where there is a lot of construction or improvements that need to get done to the building, we may need to bring in an architect or a contractor to help with those aspects of it to really understand what those costs are and what the scope is.
And let's talk about costs. Everyone's always concerned about the bottom line. Your fee for this service is something that's actually included as a larger part of your service, correct?
Right, so there's really no direct monetary out-of-pocket expense for our clients to use our services. And while there's no free lunch, whether it's a lease or whether it's a purchase, the seller or the landlord pays our fee as part of what the overall transaction is. So it's included in it, and then at the same time you have someone on your end representing you, trying to help you get the best deal and guiding you through the process.
So when, say, an executive from a corporation comes to you and says, why should we use a service like yours? I can do this myself, whether I'm choosing to lease or buy. What's your response to that?
Well, look, I own a business and I'd like to think that I'm a good negotiator, and there are many corporate executives and CEOs that negotiate for various different things in their own business every day. At the same time, I wouldn't go to court and represent myself because I don't know the nuances of it, and it's not something I do every day. In the case of the real estate, you're making a decision, if you buy, that you're going to live with for a very long time, and if you're going to sign a long-term lease, you're committed there as well. And so you want to make sure that you surround yourself with experts that are going to help you, and they're going to save you money and save you time.
So Barry, how do you help your client decide whether a purchase option or lease option is the best for them?
Yeah, so once we've identified a couple of different options, maybe one is for lease and one is for purchase, we then need to compare those two. And we need to look at the financial analysis of what is more costly or what is more cost effective. So we've developed a financial software that will analyze those two scenarios side by side. And while they're not really apples to apples comparison, one requires a down payment, one may require different improvements, the client really needs to know and understand what they're going to be writing a check for every month. And so when we lay these economic factors out for them, they can clearly see which is a better economic deal or which one costs more. and then they can apply that with the other decisions emotionally or geographically, et cetera, to make an informed decision.
Any last bits of advice you'd give to someone who's considering, oh, do I lease, do I buy? What, from your point of view as president of the company, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, the best advice is really start early and then compare all of your options. And in some instances, the market may dictate what you wind up doing. But at the same time, make sure you have good help around you that can give you good information so you can make an informed decision, because whatever you do, you're going to live with it for a long time.
And that's exactly right. Thank you, Barry, for joining us once again. Glad to have you.
I appreciate being back on the show.
All right. We've had with us Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company. This has been Business Watch. I'm Ann Police. We'll see you next time.